Welcome everyone. My name is Lauren Akery. I am a design principal with Education Elements. I started my career as a special education teacher, so the role of engaging families was something that was super important to my work and really changed as my time in the classroom went on. So I'm really excited to share some of the strategies that we've thought through and learn from others, especially now during this time.
Hi everybody, I'm Megan Campion. I'm an associate partner at Education Elements. I am a former middle school teacher and school administrator. I'm really excited to have this conversation with everybody about how to engage families virtually. It's a subject near and dear to me.
So this is probably something you're doing with your students if you're designing for online, but also thinking about how to do with your parents is creating multiple ways to engage. And a lot of these will happen virtually still, but thinking about some folks are really plugged into the learning management system, some are really engaged in social media. How can you take what we know about instructional design and having to repeat things in multiple different formats for different types of learners and apply it to the parent context? So the first one that we'll talk through is call or text. I know that sometimes when things were really busy, taking time to call, and I'm such a millennial this way, right? Was really stressful for me. I will just name it that some people are more comfortable talking on the phone than others. But I know that for a lot of my parents, and I taught in a pretty high poverty neighborhood. Internet was not super stable at their houses. And I think the district I taught in, I know, has rolled out MiFis during this time to help support students learning. But even still, I think phone call was the best way to get in touch with any of my parents. If I sent something home, middle schoolers are only so reliable with getting notes to their parents and those types of things. So picking up the phone was the best way to get in touch with folks. But that said, there are a lot of really good tools for not talking on the phone. GroupMe provides privacy for parents. So their phone number isn't on blast to the whole parent group, but they can engage with other parents. I have, for my son's preschool, really enjoyed the GroupMe chat. It's been really, really helpful to me. Having office hours, I know that I've seen a couple of schools that I've worked with. They're finding that parent-teacher conferences and office hours are being really well attended, even by parents that didn't traditionally engage in the past in parent-teacher conferences because of the new format. And so thinking about how can you have a Zoom, a phone call, even online texting in the GroupMe, ask me anything type of office hours for folks to engage. And then those short chats, just informally reaching out and be like, hey, just wanted to check in. How are things going with Tomas? I've been, working with him a lot. Have you seen it playing out at home? Just a quick check-in, I think goes a long way via text or phone.
I think one of the things that we've seen happen in a bunch of districts we've worked with is, the families at home are eager to get good enough to support their students. And one of the things we've done with office hours is open up that time. And if you have a number of people that join you at that time, you can put them in breakout rooms of their own so that they can build their own little network of support, and you can pop into the breakout rooms just like you would do with a class. If you have something like a Zoom parent, if you've got somebody who is a parent who's deeply involved and who's a former, class organizer when they were allowed to come into schools, that's somebody that maybe you could utilize to help support the other families in your class to upskill during a breakout session during office hours.
Yeah, and I, again, former special educator, the executive functioning skills, we rely on them even more than ever in this virtual space, and they have to be explicitly taught. And so I think you cannot understate the importance of again, those assumptions of are they just not paying attention? It's they may need to have an explicit conversation around how to manage their calendar, because that might not be something that they've had to do. And when you're in the school building, the bell manages the schedule for you, right? You don't have to think about that. So explicitly teaching both your students and your parents how to manage those types of things, I think, is really important. So email, I know that at this point, we're all getting so many emails, probably sending a million emails, but a couple tips around email is thinking about the cadence. If you're going to be sending every Sunday night, I get the lesson plan for my child's school, for example, for the week, just so I know what to expect and what they'll be talking about each day. And I know to look for that on Sunday nights. And when we were virtual, I got that plan on Sunday night and could look through and pick some activities out. And that was really helpful to me to know that every Sunday night I was going to look for that note. Second would be thinking about being clear in the subject line of the email. I know I used to kind of like always be like, why are people being so dramatic in the subject line? But now that there's like so many emails coming my way, I'm like, oh, great, this one's urgent. Like I can go to that. I can like really quickly look at it. It's super helpful to me. So thinking about when you're communicating with folks, like information may or may not get read, right? Like, and just know that, and that's okay. But if you need action, then put action requested. And I love the suggestion of like putting a time frame in there, because then you know that people will be able to lock in for those 5 minutes and take advantage of it. And then thinking about the format of your updates. If just like with students, it's helpful if your lessons are structured in a predictable way so they know how to orient their brains, right? So for your parents, if they know that the most useful piece of information for them is at a certain point in the newsletter or the email that you're sending out, it's helpful for them to know where to look for it each week or each day that you're sending the email. So just keeping that consistent format. So again, for those executive functioning skills, for those who have like 2 minutes to really quickly plug in and find out what their kid needs before they have to log into their own Zoom meetings, like it's really easy for folks to follow, which kind of leads into the newsletter notion, which is the next strategy. There are a ton of really cool free newsletter programs out there. I personally love using Canva. I think it's really easy to use the templates and like plug in information and make them beautiful. You can share the PDF or the PNG of your file on Facebook through a hyperlink in a group text in your email. I think it's just a really nice one, but there are a lot of them that are really good. So whichever one you're using, think about how you can make it visually appealing and dynamic, but also short, right? You don't want it to be like, get so carried away with all the different elements that you can put in there that it's super overwhelming to folks. I love seeing the pictures from my child's classroom, the videos of what they're learning, putting it in that format that's a little bit more private, not necessarily blasting it out for everyone, has been really nice for me. And then I've gotten some resources and things to do with my child at home since we're not home so much. It's really helpful. So again, being consistent, making it brief, making it dynamic and interesting, but also following that consistent format for folks to be able to use it. So newsletters are a nice way to kind of keep that consistent touch in their life that's very low stress for everyone. The next one is social media. I think that especially for those of you who work with like high schools and middle schools, I've seen a lot of students posting what they're doing on social media at this time. I don't know about you all, but that's been something that I've been really pleasantly surprised by, is that I think they're so eager to like share with to engage with people in the world that they're like really willing to share what they're learning on social media. And so I say, why not use it to your advantage, right? Have students ask questions, share what they're working on, those types of things, to the extent that you're able. I know different districts have different privacy policies and that types of things, but so use good judgment, but totally put your personality out there. I think parents are wanting to engage that way. Students are wanting to engage that way. Rather than thinking of it, I think, as a tool that we have to like restrict, as we maybe did in previous, iterations of classroom design, how can we lean into it and use it not only to support student learning, but to support engaging with our families and our communities?